Before we play around with namespaces, let me go ahead and delete every single resource in the default namespace. So kubectl, delete -f, and then dot. And in here, I need to create the namespaces again. So kubectl, get ns. You see that my namespaces are gone because the file was in that directory. So here, apply -f, and then namespaces. There we go. Cool. So now in here, let me go ahead and open up VS Code, and let's pick any of these files. So here, let's go ahead and pick the front end. So the front end, we have a deployment, and we also have a front end in here, or actually a service, my bad. Now in here, if I say API resources, and then if you look at deployments, so in here, so deployments in here, so deployments, it's namespaced true right here, and the service as well. So services, so where do we have services? So services in here, have a look, it's also namespaced in here. So what we can do is, if I go back in here, I can say inside of the metadata, I can say namespace and then the name of the namespace. So here, let's say engineering. Save this, and we can also do the same for service. So namespace and then engineering. And there we go. So if I save this and then go back to my terminal and clear the screen. Now let me say kubectl get pods. So you see that we have nothing. And let's also say kubectl get pods -n and then namespace. Or actually, sorry, -n and then engineering. And we also have nothing. So let's apply the front end file. So kubectl apply -f and then front end.yaml, and it's created. Now I've picked basically this YAML here, so front end, but you can pick any of these YAMLs that we've been creating throughout this course. And inside of the metadata block, you can add the namespace that it belongs to, provided that it's namespaced. So here, now if I type kubectl get pods, so let's get pods on the default namespace, nothing. Now let's get pods on the engineering namespace, and it seems like we have an issue. So let me just grab one of these guys and then say kubectl logs and then paste the pod name. And here I also have to say -n and then engineering, because the pod lives in the engineering namespace. Enter. And it seems like host not found in upstream customer. So it seems like we have to create the customer backend. So here, let me go back, and we have the customer deployment. So let's also change this to live inside of the engineering namespace. So here I'm going to say namespace engineering, and then let's also do the same for all of these services. So basically we just learning about namespaces. So engineering, and then finally for this cluster IP, so this is what it's complaining about. It can't find this guy. So here I'm going to say namespace and then engineering, and there we go. So now save this, go back to my terminal, and in here I'm going to say kubectl apply -f and then customer deployment, enter, and there we go. Now let's have a look. So I'm going to say kubectl, oh actually let me just be lazy and press the up arrow. So get pods in the engineering namespace, and there we go. So we have the customer which is running. Now let me go and kill these two guys. So kubectl delete pod -n engineering, there we go, and I actually forgot to paste the pod name. That's gone. And let's also do the same for this guy. So Control Z in there, and then in here, I'm just going to delete this pod, and hopefully now it should come up fine. So get pods in engineering and have a look. So you can see that they're all running. So this one is actually terminating, and basically now, so let me just clear the screen, get pods again, and there you go. So the front end needed the back end in order to start. But you saw how we basically are using namespaces for deployments, services, and basically you can do it for any Kubernetes resource. And you saw, for example, if we say logs, or if you delete, for example, you need to say -n, right? So let's say that I want to delete this pod right here. If I say kubectl delete and then pod, paste that, this will not work because by default, kubectl runs against the default namespace. So you see that it can't find it. So I need to say -n and then the namespace that the pod belongs to. So let me finally just say kubectl get all and then -n engineering. And you can see that we have a bunch of resources here: replica set, deployment, services, and some pods. And we have nothing inside of the default namespace, or actually just the Kubernetes default service. And we also had the ML for machine learning namespace. There's nothing there. And I think we had for tooling, and there's also nothing there. But now you should be familiar with namespaces, and you can see it's super easy inside of the metadata in here. So metadata, you have the namespace in here. So basically, remember, so API resources, as long as the resource that you're trying to use is namespaced, so here namespaced, if it's true, inside of the metadata you can define the namespace that it belongs to. Otherwise, it's not namespaced, which means that it's for the whole cluster. This is all for now. Catch me on the next one.